Hello and welcome to another episode of Ash Recaps. Today I'm going to recap a crime action drama film from 2018 called Rust Creek. Spoilers ahead. Watch out, relax, and enjoy the video. The film starts with a girl named Sawyer who was a senior student in her college. She receives a call when she was running, and this call was for an interview for which she was waiting for a long time. She becomes happy about this call, but she has to go to Washington for the interview. It was far from her house, and their festival was also arriving in which the whole family gets together and celebrates. Sawyer gets ready for the interview, and then travels to Washington in her car without telling anyone. On the road which she has to pass, there was a traffic jam because of the festival, so she decides to move towards another path. Moving forward, on the way she finds the road is closed, so she decides to use the paper map from now on instead of the GPS. After driving through different pathways for quite some time, she figures out that she's probably lost because she must have taken a wrong turn, so she turns off the engine, gets out of her car, and starts looking at the map. Suddenly, a car stops in front of her car when she was looking at the map. Two boys appear from it who are brothers. At first they talk to her nicely, but soon their behavior changes and they start misbehaving with Sawyer. She kicks one of them, but he holds her from the back. Meanwhile, Sawyer injures the boy with a knife which she always keeps with her. Then she runs from there to escape. After it, they stand up and become furious at her. Now they want to catch Sawyer at any cost. Sawyer ran speedily to save her life, and soon she managed to escape from them, but now she is lost in the forest. Her leg is also injured and she gets tired because of walking for the whole day. She becomes thirsty, so she reaches near a stream and drinks some water. The night has appeared and now she has to spend the night in the forest. Then we see a lady calling the police to tell them about a car that has been standing on the road for an entire day and there was nobody inside. Sometime later, a police officer arrives on the scene and examines the car. The car seems to be fine, but he comes across some marks on the road indicating that somebody was dragged around the car. Later, the police officer visits the houses around and reaches the siblings' house while conducting his investigation. The elder brother was at home, and the police officer asks, "Do you know whose car is this?" He clearly refuses and tells the officer that he doesn't know anything about it. Meanwhile, his younger brother arrives, who was having a blood mark on his shirt because it was the place where Sawyer had attacked him. The police officer suspects them, but because of having no evidence against them, he leaves. Sawyer is shown at the shore of the stream in the forest. Her leg was injured and she was feeling pain. Even though she is hungry for the last 24 hours, she hasn't eaten anything yet. Soon she starts feeling weakness because she has also lost quite some blood due to the injury, but somehow she continues to move forward slowly. All of a sudden she hears some noises near a hill, and the next minute she sees a car falling down from there. It was Sawyer's car that was thrown by those brothers because if it remains on the road nearby their house, the police will continue to pay them visits which could cause them trouble. As soon as the brothers leave the scene, Sawyer comes to her car and takes out her phone from it but finds out that it's been damaged. It was still working, but the problem was that its battery was too low and there wasn't any network available in the forest through which she could send messages to anyone for help. She becomes so weak that she gets faint, but in the next scene she wakes up and finds herself in a house, and there was a boy named Lowell in front of her who had bandaged her injured leg, but Sawyer doesn't believe him and starts panicking. She starts shouting, but Lowell forbids her from doing this. Sawyer stands up from there and tries to leave, but she again falls down because of weakness and gets faint. Sometime later, when she wakes up, she realizes that Lowell has tied her hands and feet. Lowell gives her some bread to eat, and then asks why she came into this forest, so she tells him the whole story. On the other side, the brothers are shown in the forest searching for Sawyer, and while looking for her, they find a piece of her cloth, which makes them more confident that Sawyer is still somewhere in the forest. Sawyer and Lowell were talking when they hear a car approaching the house. Sawyer starts calling for help loudly after hearing the car's voice. Lowell shuts her mouth and tells her to keep quiet. "Let me go and check it out." When he checks the door, he sees the brothers there. Lowell is actually their cousin. The brothers inquire about Sawyer, but Lowell clearly refuses them and says, "I don't know anything about a girl." They suspect him and don't believe him, so they come inside the house. Sawyer went outside the house and hid in a truck that was damaged. Lowell comes to her when they leave and tells her that she has made a mistake coming out of the house. Now let's get back inside the house. Actually, Lowell is a nice guy, and he wants to save Sawyer from his cousins because he knows that they are not good people. Then the police officer is shown whom we saw earlier near Sawyer's car. Here his senior officer asks him what the report of the case is and if he had discovered anything about the car yet. Actually, there was a girl in the car who's missing for many days. We have to find the girl at all costs and solve this case ASAP. Later that night, the police officer again goes to the brothers and says to them that they have made a huge mistake by letting that girl leave because this has become a serious case. Actually, the police officer was also corrupt and an accomplice of the brothers. Sawyer requests Lowell to please let her go as she has to go to Washington for a job interview. He tells Sawyer that I don't have a car. My cousins will be going out of this town to take care of some business this weekend, so we'll take their car, and then I'll drop you anywhere you want. It's just a matter of 2 or 3 days, so please be patient. As days go by, Sawyer and Lowell become friends because Sawyer also believes that Lowell is a nice person and he really wants to help her, so they start living in Lowell's house peacefully. At this point, it is revealed that Lowell is actually a chemistry student. He tells Sawyer about it when he was making some chemical. Later, the brothers are shown and they come to Lowell's house again. This time, they brought some boxes with them. As they enter the house, Lowell willingly spreads the smoke in the house so that Sawyer can get away from them. The brothers drop the boxes in the house and leave quickly. She leaves the house and reaches the shore of the stream. In the next scene, it is shown that in the police station, a junior police officer discovers that his senior is involved in corrupt practices and is also an accomplice of the brothers. As the senior officer arrives at the police station, the junior officer confronts him and pulls out a gun on him. But before he could put handcuffs on him, the other officer quickly shoots him with his gun. Later, with the help of the brothers, he hides the dead body. Then the senior sheriff arrives and inquires about the case, and the corrupt police officer puts the blame on his junior officer, whom he has killed, for the disappearance of the girl. The senior sheriff becomes suspicious and tells the officer that now I'm taking the case from you and giving it to the state police because it is a serious matter. Hearing this, the corrupt officer becomes worried and then goes to those brothers and tells them that they might get caught soon. It turns out that the police officer is also involved in the drugs business with those brothers, and Lowell makes those drugs for them, and the boxes they brought to his house were the drugs boxes. Meanwhile, Sawyer and Lowell are sitting outside the house and having a chit-chat, and suddenly Lowell notices the car of that corrupt police officer approaching his house. So he asks Sawyer to get inside the house and decides to confront him. The officer suspects that Sawyer is in Lowell's house, and that's why he wants to search the house. Lowell refuses him that he will not let him search his house. Besides, he also doesn't have any search warrant. Extremely mad at Lowell, the officer tells the brothers that he believes that Sawyer is in Lowell's house, so they get to his house and find Sawyer there. As they move inside the house, they take Lowell and Sawyer at the gunpoint. Seeing it, Lowell says, "You don't know why I keep her with me. Actually, I have made her my prisoner and she does all my tasks." In order to prove his point, Lowell asks Sawyer to go and make coffee for everyone. Sawyer goes to the kitchen and places the coffee mug into the oven and then returns to Lowell. The oven starts making a noise after a couple of minutes, indicating that the coffee is ready. The younger brother goes near the oven, and then all of a sudden there's a huge blast, and the younger brother dies on the spot. The blast was so huge that the entire house is burnt and they all fall outside the house and become injured. This happened because of the chemical that Lowell was making, and he also told Sawyer about it so she can use it at the right time. Lowell and Sawyer were outside the house where Lowell was injured, but Sawyer was fine. Meanwhile, the elder brother arrives and he was completely burnt. Lowell asks Sawyer to run away from there. When the other brother was about to shoot her, Lowell holds him from behind and snatches the gun from him. Lowell points the gun at him, but before he could shoot, the corrupt officer comes from behind and kills both of them so that no evidences are left and he can't be proven guilty. Later, Sawyer is shown running into the forest. She reaches the road while running and then sees a police car. She becomes happy to see it and sits in the car. Soon after sitting in the car, Sawyer realizes that it's the same police officer who was involved in different corrupt practices with the brothers. So, she jumps out of the car and tries to run away from him. The police officer chases her to the stream and tries to drown her in it. Sawyer thinks about the screwdriver given to her by Lowell. She tries to grab it and attacks the police officer repeatedly with all her might and severely injures him. She then comes out of the stream, heads to the main road and continues to walk. All of a sudden, a number of police cars arrive at the scene, but Sawyer doesn't stop. It looks like that the state police has taken over the case and has finally arrived in search of the missing girl Sawyer and a junior police officer. When the cops arrived, it was clear that Sawyer's life had been saved, but for some reason she doesn't stop and continues to walk on the road, and the movie ends here. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, then give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. If you'd like to watch more videos like this, then don't forget to subscribe the channel and click the bell icon to turn on notifications. We'll see you with another amazing video soon. Take care and goodbye.